So, there exists a process called electrolysis. You basically take some water, put two metal rods into it, call them diodes because we're fancy, we're doing some fancy stuff. Plug an electrical current into those two rods, and you essentially separate the water, that being H2O, into the hydrogen and oxygen that is the makeup of the molecule water, right? Blah, 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 blah. Basically, you're turning water into rocket fuel because hydrogen can be burned, and in order to burn stuff, you need oxygen, which you're also getting. So that's pretty awesome. Turning water into basically just like a flammable substance for basically nothing, like a little bit of electricity. That's uh that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. It's pretty obvious to see how that's essentially infinite power, both, you know, from like a physical perspective and also from a metaphorical perspective. If you could turn water into power, that is, um, I mean, what the hell is going to stop you? That's pretty cool. When I was a kid, about like, I don't know, I want to say like 9 years old maybe, or 10, my father told me about a professor that he had in college. This professor had a car that he had. The exhaust that came out of the car was just steam. It was just pure steam. There was no actual like fuel exhaust. It was just steam. There were a lot of rumors about this professor that he had in his college, that basically his car ran off of water, and that an oil company had bribed him to not release his invention, or to, like stifle his invention basically. So hearing about this, with my big old brain, with my swollen prefrontal cortex, I innovated on this design by thinking, wait a minute, um, if the engine takes water and the output is steam, right? Then couldn't you just cool the steam and feed it right back into the initial bit of the reaction? So that was pretty cool. I was like, okay, we got a little bit of an idea here. After laboring on a patent, a U.S. patent, for a long time, for like I think about either half a year or a year, because I thought I really had lightning in a bottle with that. Theoretically, what I had just designed was literally a car that, or an engine that would never need to be refueled ever. The only thing that could ever happen is that it would overheat. That's pretty fucking cool. So I was like, okay, let's patent this. After submitting my patent, I got a notice back that said, oops, there are 6 other patents that actually overlap on your exact patent. That's a little bit weird, considering that the whole point of a patent is to completely block out anybody else from patenting the thing that you patented. So, how is it possible that 6 people could patent the same thing? But it gets a little bit weirder. If you look it up on the patent, like, website or whatever, where they list all the patents, there are no patents that would overlap. Like, there's none on there. So, that's a little bit weird. It's a little bit sus. And that was my intro into this matter. That was my initial foot into the door. Recently, when I was in jail, a little crazy segue, but I've never been convicted of a crime. It's just like, you know how the justice system works. Well, you probably don't, if I'm being honest, but basically, I had like a failure to appear because they made up some court date that they never told me about. What a surprise. They're basically trying to intimidate me into pleading guilty because they don't want to actually take the case to trial. But anyway, you don't care about that. What you do care about is what this fucking guy told me while I was in jail. He was talking about the Buffalo shooting. The Buffalo shooting was an incident where this quote-unquote white supremacist had a body cam and like a rifle and shit. He starts up his body cam, and I just need to mention this because it's fucking hilarious. The literal one of the first things that you see when he starts up his body camera in his car is he looks over at his phone before turning it off, and his his phone has furry porn on it. It's just that's what's on his phone is some fucking furry porn. Um, so that's fucking retarded. So yeah, then he closes out his phone, gets out of his car, goes into the grocery store or whatever, and kills a couple black people. He only shoots black people, and that was like apparently the entire purpose of the attack was to kill like 11 black people in this fucking store, which is just like what the fuck. It doesn't really make sense. Um, it basically doesn't make sense. So this guy said in jail, he was like, the first guy that he shot was a black security guard that worked at that um what was it? A fucking I guess I'll just say a store. It's like a yeah, grocery store. The black security guard that worked at the grocery store had invented one of these water engines, right? Can you even call it invented? I mean, I didn't invent it either. I just dreamed of the same fucking thing that somebody else had already came up with. So, basically the point is that it's a very sus attack, and this guy's basically saying, well, the entire point was just to shoot this security guard that designed this engine, and that was the whole point. Which makes a lot of sense, because the shooter drove apparently an hour just to get to this one grocery store, which is like, why would you drive an hour to get to this one specific grocery store? Why would you do that? And also, I mean, there's just a ton of things that don't really add up. Like, clearly this guy was an internet freak. I mean, he literally has furry porn on his phone in the first 5 seconds. Um, he was making it a very big effort to make this into some sort of like propaganda piece with the body cam. But when you think about it, the propaganda would have been a lot more heavy if he didn't record himself shooting fucking anybody, right? So it almost seems like he's trying to confirm his kill. You know what I mean? Why else would you record yourself committing a mass shooting? It would be more scary if there was never a fucking recording from the perspective of the person who did it, because it kind of humanizes them, you know what I mean? Like the Vegas shooting wouldn't have been scary or as scary if we got a body cam of the guy who was shooting, because it would just be like, you can see it through his eyes. He doesn't seem like some masked killer anymore, you know what I mean? So, like, the propaganda value was not really there. It was it was pretty clearly like an assassination, like the longer you think about it. And the moment that guy said that, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because, once again, I have life experience with these water engines, with this whole patent and stuff like that. So, I'm going to be straight up, guys. I don't have that much information on this. And I really don't want to get a lot of information on this. Does that make sense? I do not want information on this to be within my possession, and I do not want to really go digging on this. Clearly, there is a very entrenched conspiracy when it comes to this, and whoever is responsible for this, whatever, like, you don't know, what did I just fucking say? I meant to say but I said you don't know. Whatever car company, oil company, tire company, whoever the fuck is responsible for this, whatever, maybe government agency, I don't know. Whoever is responsible for this, whatever rich billionaire is doing this, please do not fucking kill me. I'm not digging into any of this. I'm not digging anymore. This is all the information that I have, and this is all the information that I want to have. Totally and for real. So yeah. So what's the takeaway, guys? Okay, if you want infinite power, buy a generator. Buy an electrolysis little tank. Get a couple tubes and get an engineering degree, or just sit there and fucking work on this thing until you make it work. And essentially, with enough work, you can convert that generator into using water fuel, and yeah, you'll have infinite power, and it'll be pretty cool because nobody else has that because of whatever this conspiracy is. So Yeah, basically, in conclusion, somebody is actively keeping humanity from achieving greatness through these inventions, and this is probably only the tip of the iceberg. There's probably multiple other things that are being kept from us. Um, so yeah, have a great day.